you don't mind. Tron, you know your teacher, Tron?
Sean, yeah, he's my teacher, but we can have him judge.
Alright, that's fine. Now, repeat the Infinity thing real quick, just for the audience.
Yeah, so
Oh, bro, I meant.
if Infinity joins the VC, and if he's anywhere in the VC, I don't know if he's on mute or speaking, I'm just gonna leave the VC because I'm not having that guy anywhere near any of my debates. Because what he's done in the past is that anytime someone's given judgment for a debate, he's purposely pressed them. He's gone into their DMs to convince them and to persuade them that I didn't actually get judgment. So that guy's a rat. I'm not him anywhere near any of my debate anymore.
That's fine. No, that's fine. But yeah. Well, I'll just take the position that God is the best and most plausible explanation for the universe. You could take the antithesis or yeah. So then the justification for that is going to be that if all evidence is equal, then the most simple explanation, right, the one that's going to be favored the most by probability theory, and the one that doesn't make as much commitment, that best explains the finely tuned universe, is going to be God.
Yeah,
and I define God to be the necessary being that created the universe, right? So, like, for example, so
a set proposition.
Yeah, so then the justification for that is just going to be in scans. Go ahead and check that real quick.
I'm a bit laggy, so like if I start lagging out, that's just because of why.
That's fine. Well, so the argument's pretty simple. If the universe is not finely tuned for life, then life for many conditions will not exist.
Scans. Maybe that's just me. I don't see it. Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay, let me just read through this. Yeah.
Yeah, and these Kimura, Kuro feature, like, how's your day going? That's good to hear, Kimura.
I got a gummy star.
What's that?
Beast Swim Simulator.
Oh shit. Did I forget to say that God also is intuitively the best explanator? God, being the explanation for the finely tuned universe, is way more intuitive than any other theory as well, or any other hypothesis. Forgot to mention that.
Don't forget next time, nigga.
Man, you're like 500 years old, bro. You forget a lot of things.
What the flip, man? That was me.
Oh my lord. Hey, Infinity, man, like, Rizzhan, he just does you being here. Like, he said that if we were to debate Infinity, Rizzhan does not like you being here, so he said if we were to debate, Infinity cannot be here.
Why did you be muted? Look, if I unmute, then Zeni auto concedes.
What, nigga? Alright, then I just put the debate on the line.
Don't agree to that.
Yo, Mono, Yo, Mono, where's your, like, why is it so zoomed in, bro? Like, are you good, bro?
Bro, that's how it was, nigga. I don't know how to fix it.
Oh, yeah, okay, then take it off. Change something else.
We're just not gonna do this.
Yeah, that nigga's so scared. Oh my god, he's scared, bro. He's more scared than Manny is against me. Like, oh my god.
Right, bro. Like,
you said what? Rizzhan?
Like, Zeni, either we do in a different server, I'm just not doing it.
Wait, no, you said if I promise what, bro? I'll go on mute. If I mute, listen. Finish. If I unmute, listen. If I unmute, then Zeni auto concedes. Okay.
Okay.
I'll make sure Infinity doesn't unmute.
Yo,
but hey, all right. So Rizzhan, how'd you respond to the argument?
Okay, let me just wait, because I had to go the other time. But let me just read through this.
Rizzhan, can we debate after on theology, please? I'm a theologian.
I'm a theology.
Necessity and the probability. Wait, okay. In the fourth premise, it says, if fine-tuning were due to chance or necessity, then the probability of a life-permitting universe would not be extraordinarily low. Then you say, then the conclusion would be, wait, no. Then you affirmed the consequent. You affirmed the opposite of the consequent. You said the probability of a life-permitting universe
It's
is
most
stronger.
Toland. It's most Toland.
Yeah, I know it's
Basically,
I'm just confused in the first part. I'm confused in the first part, like the conditional. What do you mean by chance or necessity?
yeah, so since low probability, right, contradicts the expectations from chance or necessity, the explanation of it being due to probability is going to be
I
extraordinarily
don't know
low.
what do you mean? What do you mean by low probability contradicts? What do you mean
Yeah,
there?
so
What does
if by
low probability
chances all
contradict?
views are like equally possible, like so if by chance all views are equally possible, but under that view, life permitting ranges are incredibly tiny. That would just imply the odds are astronomically low. Or just very, very low.
No, actually, look. I'm just gonna like use a specific argument called the electrons in love argument, which, in my opinion, just like strong refutation to fine tuning. But look, okay, I could grant that the life permitting sets of universes that we could have is like extraordinary, very low. But it seems that, look, if there is a necessary being, or there is a God who fine tuned the universe, he could have done it much easier, right? So, based on my argument, just it is. There's many ways, there's many metaphysically possible ways that God could have created a universe with having things like humans, right? So obviously we think that the reason why God fine tuned the universe is to have conscious agents, right? But he could have actually conscious agents without the existence of humans. But for him to make conscious agents and also make them humans, that's incredibly hard to do. When he could, for example, made it such that there are many organisms that don't necessarily need a perfect environment to live like humans do. And he could have granted them things like conscious agency and moral agency. So while initially we might think that the sets of universes that permit life is very like extraordinarily low, it's actually not low given the fact that there are many. Obviously, you'd grant that God is extremely powerful, right? There are many ways God could actually make a life-emitting universe. Are there any different life forms he could have made other than humans without him needing to actually make a universe this fine-tuned? Meaning that the set, the actual,
I'm not glad,
the
but
set of
look.
universes.
Are you just saying that why didn't God just make the universe coarsely tuned? Like,
Wait, what did you say?
so that
I didn't hear
are
you.
you saying that why didn't God just make the universe coarsely tuned?
No,
And by
that's not
coarsely
what
tuned,
I'm
I
saying.
mean I'm just like if you mean it
Because
like that,
what I'm saying is that obviously, okay. Wait, let me just ask you a question right now. What do you think, like, were God's intentions, or what do you think God prioritizes when fine-tuning the universe? So why do you think he made the universe perfectly fit for human life in the first place?
not a lot. Like I don't even think this is really relevant. Could you go back to the original thing?
I do think that it's relevant because, look, the number one reason why I think it's relevant is just most of the universe isn't actually fit for life. We've discovered that most of the universe is actually dark matter. Humans can't exist around dark matter; they'll just be like instantly like vaporized. Most of the universe is dark matter. Most of the universe is empty. Most of the universe contains a hostile environment, and it actually seems that only like a few areas of the universe can actually support the existence of life. One of them being Earth, obviously. So it doesn't actually seem that God has fine-tuned the universe to such a point where everywhere, or like most of it, is like able for life to exist. Whereas he's only seemed that only like the Earth has obtained for life to exist, which in my opinion just reduces the probability of actually fine-tuning the universe.
Yeah, it could also be the case that God made it specifically so that if we were to discover it by fine tuning, then seeing how it is so seeing how it's so finely tuned, right? It could be the case that
Yeah,
we
I
were just thinking,
disagree.
well, this
I disagree that
now
it's
look,
actually extremely fine. I think you're already you're already presupposing, and hence why I brought up my other argument that the universe is such in a way that it's finely tuned. What I'm saying is just that look, initially when we look at it, the set of life permitting universes that God could have made is extremely low, meaning that okay, this kind of gives us priors to believe that God does exist. But when you actually analyze it, God could have made a much God could has like a huge range of life permitting universes to choose from, right? But it seems odd that he's chosen one that would actually be very difficult to actually live in because again, most of the universe isn't actually habitable.
yeah, that's why I brought up the part where we think about it, and then we would come to the conclusion that it's just God. Well, if the universe was just like not finely tuned, then well, you'd have no
But
reason
I'm not
to
making a claim that it's not finely tuned. I'm saying that look,
it
hence
looks
why
yeah, I
hence
know
why
what
I brought
you're
up
saying. And I know what
what
you're
is
saying. Look, I'm just saying that it would be way more rational for us to believe that well, since if this specific part of the place allows for life and nowhere else does it, and if the chance for this just popping in, right, and if it's just random, etc., like if those two hypotheses don't work, then well, the best explanation, right, the most plausible explanation, the one that gives us the best propositional justification, like good reason to believe in it, would be God, because well, it doesn't make as much commitment. It's more intuitive. It shows that this would just need to be a very intelligent being, etc., right? That allows for a universe just like this. So,
look
regardless of like whether anything else is finely tuned outside of this, like it really doesn't matter. It would just mean that well, God didn't permit for anything else to be finely tuned other than this specific part of Earth.
look
Not this specific. I meant this specific part of the universe.
yeah okay. So look,
Yeah.
firstly,
I'll let you
just
stop talking.
Shinra, actually, don't. Yeah. So firstly, what I just want to bring up is the fact that the reason why I asked the intention question is actually very important because if we actually understand God's intentions for creating or functioning the universe, then we can get a deeper understanding of both the prior probability and the posterior probability of the universe actually being fine-tuned by God, right? Because, for example, if God's intentions to fine-tune the universe are just to create the maximal amount of conscious agents, then obviously he hasn't tuned the universe because he hasn't created the maximum amount of conscious agents, right? Because I've just
I mean,
demonstrated how obviously you believe that God is an extremely powerful. Obviously, you believe that God is an extremely powerful being, and given the fact that God is extremely powerful, there is a much larger set of life permitting universes that he could have actually made. But it just seems odd that he's made one that is actually very, very difficult to live in. Now, to respond to your point about like, oh, the Earth is a place that's fine tuned. It actually doesn't seem that the Earth is actually a place that was fine tuned by another thing. It actually seems more probable that the Earth is something that popped out. Well, not didn't really pop out, but is something that has been formed out of chance, right? Because we understand that the universe has existed for 13 billion years, whereas the Earth has only existed for a fraction of that amount. So, according to you, it would have taken God billions of years to fine tune this part of the universe so much, which seems very odd because we just we just agreed that under your conception of God, He's extremely powerful. Meaning that it's very odd that
yeah, I mean,
this part of that it took this part of the universe billions of years when He could have done it much easier, given the attribute of Him being extremely powerful, given the attribute of Him being intelligent, necessary, all that stuff. And not
yeah.
only
Can you
that,
just like reduce it to
life.
like a few sentences? Because I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't paying attention about it. Like, reduce it to a few sentences
You want
and
last
sum
time?
it up.
You want me to? You want me
No,
to
just
repeat
sum it
myself?
up. Just sum it up. Just sum it up. Just sum it up.
Yeah. Okay. Look, what I'm simply just saying is that God could have made it much easier if He was extremely powerful or intelligent to create like a universe that is fine tuned, but He hasn't. Right? We have multiple places in the universe which are habitable. Most of the universe is not habitable. There's only one part. Well, there's only one part of the universe that's actually habitable. We're just the Earth and maybe the surrounding planet. of the earth. But the
Okay,
problem
to be clear,
is
you think that, well, why did God make this fine-tuned universe very difficult for more life to appear, right?
yeah, I'm just asking you, if God's intention is simply just to make a universe where conscious agents live, then why is most of the universe not fit for conscious agents to live?
So, like, you're just saying that why didn't God allow for more rational beings to exist?
I'm saying, why didn't God, number one, make it much easier for life to emerge? And also, why did it take Earth so long? Even though the universe has existed for a billion years, why did it take the Earth so long for it to yield life? Because when the Earth first existed, it wasn't actually compatible for life. But when it started to evolve over time, that's when it actually became compatible for life. You know? Alright, that's fine.
Alright, yeah, I'm back. My fault. My mom was calling me. So, look,
Yeah,
so
that's
you
fine.
just said that why didn't God, make the universe better to maximize for the most amount of agents, right?
Yes, because
Just to be
obviously,
clear, your main point is
currently
just
that's the
that
thing.
if God was all powerful, then he would just made a universe where the most amount of rational beings can exist. Well, then,
I'm not
doesn't
making
that
a
just
claim
assume
that God has to be powerful. I'm not making a claim that has to be a claim that God, according to you, would have the power required, so why didn't he do it?
okay? Look, that basically just assumes that a better universe, is the one with the most possible agents, and then
It is,
so it's going to be the justification for why. Look, so it's going to be justification for why, like, maximum agents or the most amount of maximum agents equals to a better, universe. Because, well, the
wait,
quantity of agents doesn't, align with any more moral value or whatever, right?
no,
Like
actually it does.
a
The
world
more the
with
agent,
fewer,
wait,
like,
the more the agents, the more the agents, the more happiness that we have. Look, it could look. There's so many things wrong with the argument, right? Well, obviously, okay, if God's intention here is just to create the best universe that He can, right? Then there's so many ways He can go about it rather than just giving us this. He could make it such that okay, the universe is such a way that it supports like beings that can like multiply rapidly, and those beings that can multiply rapidly always have positive mental states, so they're always moral to each other. They're always good to each other. If God's intention is to actually create a morally better universe, He could have done all these things. Because obviously, if there are more people, and more people are moral to each other, more people are happy with each other, then overall there is more happiness in that world than
well, I
there
don't see
being
why
less
happiness is
agents.
like the goal. Yeah, I just don't see why the most amount of happiness is a goal for, like, I guess, God. But
Okay,
this
so
is just
what
an
do you think God's
hypothetical.
goals
So
are?
look,
Wait, okay, so if you wait, Zeni, let me just ask you a question because this is like what like the main talking point of the debate. If you do not think that God's main intentions when creating a universe is to make it the like a moral like a morally best universe or the best universe in terms of happiness, what do you think He's aiming for? Because you're the one making a claim that He fine tuned
Yeah,
it.
look,
So what do you think His
look,
intention?
like, I don't like. Okay, the intention of God, that really had nothing to do with whether whether the universe is finely tuned or not, or whether it's the best explanation. I'm just saying that virtue of, again, I'm just saying that virtue of the things I know, right? The finely tuned universe and how much plausible, like how plausible it is, right? Then yeah, I'd agree. Like, God is the best explanation for the universe because
I'm just asking you, because Zeni, because I'm just
look,
asking you a very simple. Wait, I'm
I
just
don't
asking you
see.
a very simple question. Like, I don't like want to have this do this thing for that question. All I'm simply just asking is just that. Okay, you disagree that what I've listed out is actually God's intention. So, what do you think God's intentions are?
I mean, I don't really care for what God's intention is. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
that.
just explain why God's
I don't think that
intentions would
really.
be.
But
Wait,
wait.
Wait, I just
You
told
cut
you
me
that
off.
God's intentions would be necessary for us to actually determine both the prior and posterior probability
Why?
of the universe
Yeah.
being fine-tuned.
Yeah, why?
Okay, I'll just explain it to you again. So let's stipulate for the example that we have a being X, right? And being X is both intelligent enough and powerful enough to create a universe. And being X intentions in creating universes is just make these with the most amount of cheese. And okay, so being X has the intentions. We also have being X can do these things because it's within its scope. Now, imagine if we exist in a universe where there isn't the most amount of cheese. In fact, there's the most amount of bread. That would mean being X is actualized, even though being X is to actually actualize the intention. Just think that exists because it seems that we expect probably would with most and not if I had the intention to create a best universe, a moral universe or a happy universe, then it seems that he could have done all these other things that were within his power instead of making a universe like this. It's just not expected that he would make a universe like this, and therefore it's probably that it doesn't exist. Wait, is Zeni here? Maybe I'm lagging. Maybe I'm lagging. No, I'm still seeing messages. Look, I don't know where Zeni went. Yo, can somebody tell me where Zeni went? Why is nobody speaking?
Yeah, let me pull up my Zeni tracking device here. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not gonna come, at least you have limited time. Like, if he's not gonna come back, then. Girl, why are you eating my meat in chat? What are you doing? I'm pretty sure you know that he lost the conversation as well, so just please stop it. Like, actually, just. Like, if you don't think he lost, then when I run out, we can speak after it, after this. Like, we can speak after this happens. So, if you don't think that he won, then obviously, no, if you don't think that I won, then obviously you have some kind of justification. So you can present that reason to me. If you're in reference to the debate, that's my bad. That's my bad. That's my bad. But I'm apologizing because I thought like you were in reference to the debate. That's my bad.
Jazz nigga. Get over. Come here. Here.
Ooh, laddie, come here. I was like 12 when I died. 13, I was smoking fries. 14, I was smoking my naughty. When he's playing box, you know we gonna get him. And I block, I cut it by the victim.
My fault, my fault. My mom called again. She wanted me to go pick up my little sister. But look. Just to be clear, right?
Look, I'm limited for time.
Again.
Look, can we wrap up here? Because I literally have to go. So.
Yeah, sure. I'll just give one more response, and then sure we could just leave it here. I'll probably cut out this part of the rec because I wasn't here for Tron. Not like this part, the one they're talking about, but the one I was not here, I'll just cut it out. But yeah, okay. Look, basically, the point is just right that I don't really like the point I'm making is that we have good reasons to believe in God's existence because it's the best one that explains the universe, regardless of whether the intention is to make the max amount of
Did you hear what I said earlier?
people. I wasn't here. Can you repeat it?
Okay. Look, did you hear the cheese example?
No, I wasn't. I don't think I heard you talking about cheese.
Cheese example. So let's stipulate that there's a being X, and being X has the intention to make a universe with the most amount of cheese in it, right? And then we're in the universe, and we discover the universe doesn't actually have the most amount of cheese. In fact, the universe has the most amount of bread. So most of the universe bread instead of most of the universe being cheese. However, it would be expected probabilistically that most of the universe would be cheese if being X exists. Because we know that being X has the power to do this, and we know that being X has the intelligence to do this. And if he has the intention to do this, and that's his goal, that's his end, then it seems very odd why he didn't do this. And the best explanation for why he didn't do this is just simply that being X does not exist. Now, that's analogous with what I'm saying about fine-tuning. If God had the intention to create a universe where life can flourish the most, or to create a universe in a specific way where conscious agent flourishes the most, but we find out that the universe is not actually a universe where life can flourish the most, or conscious agents can flourish the most. It seems that the probability of God is actually reduced.
Okay, look. That just assumes God intended to make the most amount of beings possible.
And then
I
I'm
don't
asking, yes, that just goes back to my point. What do you think God's intentions?
Okay, look. What if I just say that God's intention is just to make a universe where people exist? Doesn't matter if there's a max amount or the lowest amount of people. Just a rational agent exists, and that rational agent does X thing because
Yeah, and
that's
still probabilistically unexpected. Because
because then it would satisfy.
If God's intention just create a universe where at least one national agent existed, then why he make it the case that
You cut off. You cut off.
billions of years? Let me suspect if billions of years or one, it just seems unexpected. If his goal was so simple and he just wanted to create out
No, okay, look, the billions of
national
years
agent,
could just be the.
what did you say?
Why does God have to do this instantaneously? I don't think he needs to do this instantaneously. Like, sure, it took billions of years for the first humans to, think of a thought.
If if God has an intention to do this within his power, and it's within his scope of intelligence, and why would he take so long? Like, I'm not just talking like a few years.
He could be a very patient. Like, he could be a very patient, right?
What'd you say?
Yeah, so he could just be a very patient, a very patient being.
Stipulating that about him, but I need to actually prove. And that wasn't even in your definition.
Yeah,
stipulating that about him.
Just equally explains why. Okay, like instead of referring to the explanation, it could explain the data as much as yours. It could be the case that God is just very patient, right? Or it could just be the case
even him being patient. Him being patient doesn't actually explain anything, because it actually seems that it seems that when we're talking about people being patient, we're talking about people with for things outside their control to happen, right? So, for example,
Wait, why
if
is
I
that
said,
under
wait, if I said to you that I need a block of cheese, right? Then you said to me, "Oh, just be patient," and I wait patient, and I eventually get the block of cheese. That's because getting a block of cheese was outside. I don't want to force you to get. It wasn't.
Look, regardless of whether regardless of whether you know regardless of
In this
whether
instance,
it's civilian, oh my god, you keep lagging out.
What do you say?
You keep cutting out. But look,
Yeah, okay.
like the whole point, right? It's
I'll
still
just repeat it. God
expected
doesn't
that
wait for
under the
anything.
intention that God wants to create at least one rational. Look, under the intention that God wants to create at least one rational agent, regardless of how long it takes, as long as this thing is filled, then we can say, well, now it's more plausible, or it's the best, explanation as to why the universe exists. Like all the thing, like it doesn't really matter if whether it took time for this to happen, but now we can conclude, yeah.
No, it doesn't. Wait, before we conclude, I just want to say some things I didn't get to say while I was cutting. Wait, am I still cutting now?
No, you're good now.
Okay. I just want to say some things I didn't get to say. So again, if God intentions, well, no, we actually already went over that point. So you bring up the whole patience point doesn't matter, because normally when we're talking about patience, we're talking about being patient or waiting for things that are outside of our control. But it's not outside of God's control to create a universe like that. Again, God is the only agent there. He's not waiting for anybody else. He has the power to do it. He has the intelligence to do it. And it's his made to do it. So then, why did it take him so long? And again, being patient isn't on point because again, God doesn't need to be patient for everybody. Because when we talk about being patient, we not only talk about waiting for things that are out of control or waiting for people to do things, but waiting for anybody else to do things. He's the only being that exists at that time. Meaning that if he wants to do things, he can do it at the whim of his power. He doesn't need to wait or be patient. So if it's under his power, then he should be able to do it. No, let me respond to it, bro. Let me respond to the second point you made. And then about the second point, about whether just if God has this intention to create like a universe with one rational agent, then if God has this intention to create a universe with one rational agent, then, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Well, actually, it does matter how long it takes, right? Because again, I'll just give like an example. We can go back to the cheese example. So